What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update video. We're going to do something a little bit different today and cover some recent comic sales in the Star Wars universe. And before I begin, let me say thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I encourage you to like and subscribe. I thought I would put together both some vintage key comics as well as some modern ones and just show you what the market's doing. I'm not going to make this a regular thing or anything because I know that most of y'all tune in to my channel for action figure related market updates, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting to take a look and see what the market's doing, since I've done a few kind of videos in the past about the Star Wars comic industry. And we're going to start right where it all began with Star Wars #1, the original issue, and a beautiful example. All of these, by the way, are CGC graded 9.8, and it's not me being a comic snob or anything like that, since I know so little about comics as it is, but it's really just because it allows for easier apples to apples comparisons. But anyway, this one sold fairly recently on eBay. Some of these are auctions and some of these are buy it nows, but this one was a buy it now, and it was a CGC 9.8 first issue, beautiful high grade white pages. This one actually had off-white to white pages, and this one sold for about $5,600. So another really high price there. As a reference point, data point, there was a completely white pages CGC 9.8, and obviously it's not a huge difference in terms of how it looks inside a case, but picky collectors do like all white pages instead of off-white to white. And that one did sell in the Hake's recent auction, and I believe it was in the 6,000s. It was like around $6,500. So, just the prices for Star Wars #1 have just skyrocketed over the last year and a half, and that just gives you another data point. A couple of other keys that have jumped up a lot in price, where historically they maybe not have been quite so expensive, is issue #4. This is the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, this just follows the movie. This is a movie tie-in. This one was white pages, CGC 9.8 again, and this one sold for $520. 20 bids in the auction. A really amazing example, but this one did not have perfect centering, as you can kind of see. I'll zoom in here. This is something I look for even in modern comics, is to see how it's centered. And if you look at the top here, the white portion where my cursor is, you see how it narrows as it goes down. And that's just, something to look for those of you who do collect, or have, like me, have just started collecting graded comics, is that you're going to pay a little bit less for comics that do not have perfect centering, and this one does not. As you can see, it just has a little bit slight of a manufacturing defect from the factory, and CGC doesn't typically ding you too bad for that, or at all, as long as the pages themselves are not damaged. But just an interesting fact there. Another one that's a pretty major key in the vintage Marvel run is Star Wars #42. Obviously, that's the first appearance of Boba Fett. It also has Dengar and Bossk on that iconic cover. I love that issue. This one was a two comic lot, but really what you're paying for is the 9.8 grade issue #42. This one was a newsstand edition as well, which goes for a little bit more than the direct edition. And the way to tell that, for those of you who are new, is if you look down here, you'll see the barcode versus the Spider-Man logo. And so this one was a newsstand edition. They do not label those on the CGC labels. I don't know why. They should. But that one sold for $4,000. So another massive number. And that issue has really jumped up in value quite a bit. Another key issue within the Star Wars run that maybe doesn't get quite as much love, but has definitely jumped up in price due to the Disney Plus planned show for Lando Calrissian, is his first appearance comic, which is the very next issue, Star Wars #43. That's the first appearance of Lando, and this one was a best offer accepted. It was listed for $1,000. It was a beautiful newsstand edition. I've seen the direct sale version of this comic in a 9.8 sell for, mid to high fives, all the way into the sixes. So that gives you a data point, but you're going to pay a little bit more for the newsstand. They're just a little bit more difficult to find in a 9.8. Skipping over to some of the modern keys that are out there, this is one I've talked about in past videos, and that's Heir to the Empire #1, the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn. We all know that he's going to be showing up at some point on the Ahsoka show on Disney Plus, and this is a book that continues to be in high demand. This is the first Mara Jade as well as Admiral Thrawn, obviously, and this one was $2,300 and sold, and so that gives you another data point there. That's pretty high. I mean, I've seen them sell in the mid to high teens, $1,600 to $1,900, but this one sold at $2,300. It's just one of those books that is in high demand. For those of you on a budget like me who could not afford something like this, you can also look for the comic, the Dark Horse Comics 30th anniversary repack comic that came with the two figures. A lot of sellers, as I've mentioned in a past video, a lot of sellers or a lot of buyers of that 2-pack are taking the comic out, pressing and cleaning it, sending it to CGC, and you can find that one, in the $500 to $800 range. It just depends on condition, but and whether it's an auction and things like that. But that would easily sell for half of what the original issue would sell for. Another one that I've been looking for in the first printing, this is the second print of Darth Maul #2 that has the first appearance of Cad Bane. I tend to think that Cad Bane's going to make an appearance, and shout out to Josh McNabb, my Patreon supporter. He mentioned this book, and I agree with him. I think that this one is going to continue to go up in value, but the second print is much more rare, much more expensive, and this one was a second printing, and it sold for $901 plus shipping. But you can still find the first printing of this. It looks very similar. It's hard to tell, actually, between the first and second print. But for this standard cover, you can find this one, the first printing of this one, in the, let's call it the $450 to $500 range. But the second printing is a lot more expensive. But that's another modern key that has really gone up in value, as people have speculated that Cad Bane is going to make an appearance at some point soon in one of the different Disney Plus Star Wars shows. This one I thought was a great deal, whoever got this one, because I fully expect Hondo Anaka to make it an appearance in one of the shows, be it The Mandalorian or on Ahsoka. But Star Wars, it's kind of one that's kind of been creeping up, and Star Wars Adventures #7 is the first appearance of Hondo. #8 would be his second appearance. And this was a lot that had both of them together, both in CGC 9.8 in an auction, and it had 26 bids, and the closing price was $207 for both of those. That was a fantastic deal, whoever got those, because I've seen just Star Wars Adventures #7 with his first appearance sell in the 400s and above. So this one, you got both of them, both this first and second appearance comic, to my knowledge. I'm not sure about the second appearance, but I know that Star Wars Adventures #7 is Hondo's first appearance. And to get both of those for $207, that was a steal of a deal, and I was watching that one closely to see where it would close at. Now, this is the retailer incentive version of that same issue, Star Wars Adventures #7, and this one has the Star Wars Rebels team on the cover. And this one goes for a lot more, as you can see here. This one sold for $526 in an auction, 12 bids plus shipping. So those are the two to look for. This is the retailer incentive version that's much more rare and expensive. Or you can go for this one right here. This is the standard issue of that same comic. And so that just gives you a couple of data points there. This is another one that I'm really keen to get at some point. This is Mace Windu #5. This is a comic that I have discussed on my channel in the past as one that I think will creep up in value. So far it hasn't. It's actually come down in value, and it's getting to the price now where I would definitely consider it. It jumped up, kind of in the 3s and even into the 4s for buy it nows. But this one sold at auction at 18 bids, and the closing price was $201. But it is such an epic cover. And the reason that this one's important is because this is the first appearance of Ahsoka within the Marvel Star Wars canon. Obviously, she appeared in Clone Wars #1 within the Dark Horse Comics run. and that one is a major key and very expensive. $4,000 to $5,000 is the going price for a CGC 9.8 of that one. But I think this is one, if you're on a budget, and again, it's not cheap, but if you're looking for a 9.8 Ahsoka related, as we heat up into the fall and into next year, and the Ahsoka series starts to come out, this is one I would really target, because I think that this one will jump up in value. Because, you know, most likely I would think that beyond maybe some flashback episodes or flashback scenes that goes back to when Ahsoka was younger, I would think that they're going to pull a lot of the storyline potentially from this. And maybe not. You know, a lot of this stuff takes place pre-Return of the Jedi, Clone Wars, things like that. But I would think that they're going to pull a lot of from, you know, these early Mace Windus within the Marvel Star Wars canon portion of Ahsoka's kind of stories, and I think this one will jump up. And maybe I'm wrong, but this is definitely one that it's on my short list for what I'd like to pick up. Another one that I would consider is this one. This is the Rise of Kylo Ren #3, and this is a Clayton Crane cover, and it's a pretty awesome cover, as you can see here. But what's important about this one is that this is the first appearance, and I'll zoom in on the logo here. Or on the label. This is the first appearance of Aphra Chris in cameo. And why is that important? Well, she has a pretty big role in the big push right now in Marvel's Star Wars High Republic series. So the High Republic series takes place, you know, much earlier in Star Wars canon timeline, and Aphra Chris is a pretty major character in those. And so this is her first appearance comic, but she has a very major role within the High Republic comic series that's ongoing right now. And so I would consider this one as another one that I think will jump up in the coming months and even into next year, since that's her first cameo appearance. But that one sold at $132 plus shipping. I thought that was a pretty good price and a pretty nice cover. So another one to consider. This is one that's in my collection, and this one's come back down a little bit in price. It went up to like the 700s, high 6s into the 700s, and then it dropped back down when I picked my copy up. This is the first printing of Darth Vader #3 with Dr. Aphra and her droid's first appearance. There's 4 different printings plus the Laraka 1 in 25 variant that's very, very expensive, and that one has not dropped down in price at all. But this one has come down in price, I think, just because more and more people are grading it, and people are starting to realize that there's a lot of these out there. But anyway, this one's still sold in an auction at $430 plus shipping. That's still slightly above what I paid for my copy. But it dropped back down, as I mentioned, when I picked up my copy. Then it went back up again into the 5s, and now it's back down into the 4s. So this is just another data point, and I haven't seen these sell for below $400. That seems to be the floor right now for the standard cover of Darth Vader #3 with Aphra's first appearance. Here's another one that sold at almost the exact same price point, $426 plus $20 shipping. So again, slightly above what I paid for mine, but that seems to be kind of the floors in those low 4s. And here's a third one. This one was $465, but best offer accepted. So it was probably the sales price was probably in line with those other 2 that I just showed you. So if this is one that you're interested in, me personally, I still think this is a slam dunk to go up in value, as everyone seems to think that it's inevitable that Disney is going to either have Dr. Aphra show up in one of the either in Ahsoka or The Mandalorian, or have her own series outright. I think that her storylines and her comics easily support her own show, and it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, as to whether that happens. And I could easily see this in 2 or 3 years' time being double in price. So that's just my personal opinion. Of course, I'm a little biased since I have this one, but so take my thoughts with a grain of salt. But that's the reason I bought it. Is that I'm a firm believer that Dr. Aphra is going to have a pretty major appearance sometime soon. Another one that's on my short list for once is Kanan #1, and this is another one where this one we're going to talk about the price on this one in a second, but this is another one where CGC seems to not be able to make up their mind in terms of how they're going to label this. This is the old label that has the first appearance of Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, Chopper, the entire Rebels team. But the entire Rebels team only shows up briefly on one page. And the market has spoken on this, and Kanan number 6, which we'll talk about later on, has really the first full appearance of that team. Now, this one has been hovering around $300. That's where it's been selling for a CGC 9.8. This one sold at $950. I don't know if this is a legitimate sale or not, but it did say it sold at this. And either the buyer messed up and got it mixed up with Kanan number 6, or it's market manipulation that's going on. I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything, but $950 for this is about triple what the going rate is for Kanan number 1. It's between $300 and $400 depending on an auction and buy it now, but this is more in line, I think, with the prices for the 9.8 on Kanan number 1. This one sold at $300 plus shipping, and this one is this is called the BAM variant, as it has Darth Vader. This one does not sell for nearly as much, only because probably it doesn't have the Rebels team on the cover, and this one sold, or excuse me, this one doesn't have Ezra Bridger on the not Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus on the cover, but this one has Vader on the cover, and it's considered a variant cover. But does if you're looking to get that, you don't have the budget for the $300 to $400 for the standard cover, this is one you could also pick up to get the same comic just with Vader on the cover. That one sold for $155, so that's a good reference point there. Now this is another cover that is also pretty popular. This is Kanan, the Last Padawan, and this one has the first appearance, but this is the Plunkett variant cover, and this is a really nice cover, and this one does go for quite a bit of money. This one sold at $824 with one bid. That seems high to me. I think that you can probably pick that up for quite a bit less than that, but that's another cover to look for. Now, going back to what I spoke about before, this is kind of what you should look for Kanan number 6. It's right now, it's not labeled on this one as the first appearance of the Rebels team, but I've heard that CGC is changing that, and this is going to now say the first full appearance of the Rebels team. And it's a pretty epic cover, and the market has spoken and basically said, look, this is really the first appearance of the Rebels team, and this one goes for big money. $765 is about the going rate. $760, I've seen it into the 8s, even almost to $900 for this comic, believe it or not. So so those are the key issues. Kanan number 1 and Kanan number 6 are really the two big main issues from that line. There's 12 comics total in the Kanan series. And one other quick point is that they changed it from saying Kanan the Last Padawan to later on they changed it to say just Kanan. So this is where it says Kanan instead of Kanan the Last Padawan. But anyway, this is the most expensive in terms of the standard covers within the Kanan series, and Kanan number 6, just because the comic market has spoken and said that this is really the first full appearance of the team. Next one, this is Kanan number 12. This is a minor key and one I have in my collection and I've shown on the channel before, but this is the first appearance of the Grand Inquisitor. So the first full appearance of the Grand Inquisitor. So I wanted to show this one because I wanted to say that I got to preach patience on this, because I was able to pick this up for 60% less than this one sold for at auction. It sold for $160. I was able to pick mine up for $100 plus $10 shipping, so $60 less than that. So this one sold for quite a bit more, but I have seen them sell for lower than that. So for a lot of these modern books, it's just about patience, because there's a lot of them out there, and a lot of folks have these ungraded in piles. And as they come back from grading with CGC, oftentimes you can time it on the market where there might be 5 of these examples on the market at auction at the same time, and you're able to pick one up for a lot cheaper than this one sold for. So just one quick tip is just preach patience. And I've been, for a lot of these, like Kanan number 1, which I really like to pick up, that's on my short list. I'm just tracking prices for now, and I just don't have the money for something like that right now. But ideally, I'd like to pick one of those up, over the next few months. So anyway, that's all I really had for this. It's something a little different for the channel. I just thought you'd like to see some of the prices for both vintage and modern key books in the 9.8 grade. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you're existing subscribers, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.